Hey, Bruce Naylor here, and in this video I'm going to share with you the equipment that I use and the software to create and edit my YouTube videos. So we'll get started right after this. So this is the first camera I bought for my YouTube channel. It's the Lumix FZ200. It has a 12.1 megapixel sensor and a constant 2.8 aperture across the entire zoom range, which is 25 to 600 millimeters. Shoots 1080p at 30 frames a second and also 60 FPS. And what's really nice about this camera, unlike a lot of other bridge cameras or even DSLRs, is that if you record in 60 frames per second AVC HD, you can record over 30 minutes. So it's like having a camcorder, essentially. Very nice feature. Now, it also features a fully articulating LCD display on it. Very, very nice. Now, the thing about this is it's not touch. A lot of people thought it was touch. It's not, but it does a great job. Still use it to this very day. Okay, so this is the newest addition to my cameras, which is a DSLR. I've never owned one before, and I think you get some beautiful footage out of these. This was a refurb that I bought with a kit lens. It's the 10 to 55 millimeter or 18 to 55 millimeter kit lens. Not a bad lens and a great way to get started, but I wanted something a little bit better. And I wanted a couple different things with this camera. I wanted a good all-around lens, so I ordered this, which is the Canon 18 to 135 millimeter lens. It's the USM lens, so you can get a motorized zoom somewhere down the road with that. Then I also ordered a 10 to 18 millimeter ultra wide lens for vlogging, which it really does do a beautiful job. Now, the aperture is not great on this lens, and there's a much more expensive lens, but for my purposes, this will do just fine, especially if I'm in the office and I just want to get a nice wide shot. And then for a great photo lens, or even maybe outside video lens, what they call the Nifty 50, which is a 50 millimeter f1.8 lens. So it's a super fast lens, and it takes very crisp video in that nice, beautiful bokeh effect. So many YouTubers like. Now, this camera does feature a fully articulating LCD touchscreen on it, as well as your electronic viewfinder on there. It is a wonderful camera. I really enjoy it, and I've already shot some videos with it. There's a little bit of getting used to going to a DSLR, but having owned a bridge camera first, at least I have a good concept of things like ISO, shutter speed, and aperture. My favorite camera for all-around YouTube video work is still my Sony FDR AX53 Handycam. Now, the reason I really like this camera, first off, it has a dedicated 16 to 9 aspect ratio on the sensor itself, and so that really avoids some cropping issues on the sensor. I also like this balanced optical steady shot on the lens. It actually moves around kind of like a built-in, image stabilizer gimbal, but very, very cool. It is a 4K camera. So basically you can get 4K 30 frames per second. You can also get shooting 24 frames per second with it. It does great in low light, believe it or not, because it shoots from f2 to 3.8, and but it's not a continuous aperture, so the more you zoom it out, the more the aperture changes on a little bit. Slow motion at 120 frames per second at full 1080p on this camera. Nice and lightweight. Good battery life on it. Very handy to take around. You can use it for a vlogging camera. It will do well for vlogging. You can use it for product reviews. This is a great all-around camera. If you're looking, to me, if you just have the budget for one camera, this is going to be a great way to get started with the FDR AX53. You can just pick it up, run a gun. It is truly a point-and-shoot 4K camera. That's really, I think, what it's designed for. There are some manual controls on there. You have jog wheel on here, and you can adjust things like white balance. You have exposure compensation, white balance compensation on it. A number of things you can do with this camera. But I think it's really designed for that run and gun shooter. If you want full HD, or if you want to dabble with 4K, it takes outstanding 4K images. You can take still photos with it, and it does have a time-lapse feature. I will tell you, in my opinion, that the photos that come out of this aren't that great. But for an all-around camera, if you only had one camera to take for vlogging, for looking at products, tutorials, whatever, I think this definitely bears consideration. It's very well made. It is a lot less money than the AX100. You got that excellent steady shot on there, and so you can just walk around and you don't get real jittery footage. So yeah, I'm very, very impressed with this. I use this camera almost every day to create video. So when I bought my FZ200, I know that I needed to have better audio than the microphone built in the camera. So I bought this. This is the Optica condenser mic. It's a shotgun microphone powered by a 9-volt battery with a 3.5mm jack. Now the FZ200, curiously enough, comes with a 2.5mm input for the jack, so I had to buy an adapter for it. The benefit of the shotgun mic is its ability to reject sound from behind and on the sides. It's powered by a 9-volt battery, and it does have a low-pass filter on it. The decal is missing off. This thing gets a heck of a lot of use. It's actually a fairly solid little unit, and I think the sound is pretty decent on it, but I also at times find it somewhat lacking in the clarity and the richness of the voice. So I have since upgraded this to a new Rode Shotgun VidMic Pro, which I'm going to show you next. So here's the Rode VidMic Pro shotgun mic, and I've got the dead cat on it, windsock, whatever you want to call it, and it comes again with a 3.5mm jack on it as well. It also has what they call a Rycoat suspension on it, so you no longer have these like rubber bands that they use on them to kind of keep them from moving around. The nice thing about this microphone is that it comes with a gain of up to 20 dB on it. So DSLRs, bridge cameras, and most cameras, the onboard amp is not that good. So you can turn down the input gain on the microphone or on the camera and increase it on the microphone, and therefore you get cleaner sound on a lot. These are used by a lot of YouTubers out there. They're an excellent addition to your rig, and sometimes this may be all you really ever need, because you can mount it on a mic stand if you wanted to, put it on a boom. There's a lot of things you can do with it, but you get really good sound out of the Rode VidMic Pro. These are expensive at about $200 a piece. Now another addition to your kit should be a lav mic, because these are really nice, especially if you got to sit pretty close to the camera when you're using a shotgun mic, or if not, you start getting echo and it just doesn't sound right. So if your camera's a good piece away from you, you're doing an interview, what have you, you want to use a lav mic. This one is fairly inexpensive, got it from Amazon. It's the Aspen microphone, and it does not come with any kind of battery or anything. When you plug it into the camera, it'll draw its power from the camera or your audio recorder, which I'm going to show you next. And this is the Roland R05. It's, I've had it for several years now, but it's been a real workhorse. Runs off of, I think, AAA batteries on there. Records audio in both MP3 and WAV files. It has a built-in stereo microphones here, and it also has a head jack and a headphone jack, as well as a microphone in that 3.5mm connector on there as well. It can power for example, a microphone that doesn't have its own power source, so that's really good on it. In hindsight, I probably wish I would have bought something that would allow me to actually use XLR microphones with it, but it's still an excellent recorder. I used it to record a lot of podcasts, as well as primary audio, and then I use the audio from the camera as what's called scratch audio. Nice little device. This is one of my latest pieces of kit. This is a Joby GorillaPod. And what's nice about these is whenever you go outdoors and shoot, you want to vlog, you just want to be mobile with your rig. These are excellent to hook up to your camera. It's got a nice release plate on there. It's very solidly made. I mean, this is a really pretty heavy piece of gear. The nice thing about these is these legs can be folded and bent into different positions, so you can wrap it around trees or whatever you want to do to get just that right shot, that angle that you're looking for. Or you can just kind of spread the legs out on it and make it into a nice little tripod. Just a nice piece of gear. You don't have to have one of these, but I highly recommend it. I got the less expensive one before, and so this is really the more heavy-duty model, and it just works out super well for me. Okay, so when I'm working in the office, I mount my Canon T6i on top of a Manfrotto tripod. Now this I bought as a kit. It is the MT190X3, and then with that kit also came the fluid head, which is an MHX Pro-2W. Now this fluid head really allows for buttery smooth pans and tilts. Very important, especially when you're shooting product reviews and that kind of thing. And so this is just built like a tank. Not the lightest thing in the world, but it does an excellent job, and it was well worth the money. They say these things will last forever, and I have no doubt that the Manfrotto fluid head and the Manfrotto tripod is going to last a good long time. Okay, so let's get a quick look at just some of the gear I use for editing. And of course, the heartbeat of this thing is my 2014 MacBook Pro. Features a quad-core i7, a GTX 750M GPU, 16 gigabytes of RAM, and it has extremely fast 512 gigabyte SSD built into it. And I actually use it for work, and I use it for creating videos. It's running Parallels 12 and Windows 10 Professional on there. For listening to audio and to monitoring my audio, I use these M-Audio AV40 studio monitors, and great sounding, relatively inexpensive, and I keep them isolated on these foam isolators. They're not the best setup in the world for these speakers, but I plan on upgrading them sometime soon. Now for voiceovers and for also monitoring audio through my headphones, this is the Focusrite Scarlett 2i2, allows for up to 2 XLR microphones to be plugged in, and you can monitor your audio in real time through the headphone jack on there. So it is a great audio interface. This is what I use, and that is Final Cut Pro 10, and it's running on a LG ultra-wide 34-inch display. And what I love about this display is you can actually just see practically the whole timeline in one shot. And I really, really love this display. It does a great job. I'm just going to kind of zoom out for a little bit so you can get an idea just the width on this thing. It is an amazing display, and I highly recommend a ultra-wide monitor for video editors. And finally, the last piece of gear that I use once in a while is going to be my ATR 2100. This is made by Audio-Technica. This is a dynamic microphone that patches into the Focusrite 2i2 audio interface. And it is a fabulous sounding microphone, relatively inexpensive, but gives great audio. And then I record that into Adobe Audition as well as Audacity. Well, I hope you enjoyed taking a look at some of the gear that I use to produce YouTube videos. I haven't spent a tremendous amount of money on gear, as I've heard others say it's not the gear, but it's the story that's the most important thing. So, I mean, I have quite a bit invested in this, but I could have spent a whole lot more. But I'm ultimately pretty pleased with the results I get from this. So hopefully you enjoyed this, and I'm looking forward to your feedback down below. Take care, everybody.